Let's say you're 62 years old, your portfolio is somewhere between $1 and $2 million, your spouse is ready to retire, and you think to yourself, maybe just a few more years will help you be more secure. But what if I told you that delaying your retirement may actually cost you more than it saves? I'm not talking about financially, but what about emotionally, physically, and perhaps even socially? In this video, I'll show you why people who retire later don't always end up with better outcomes, the health and happiness data behind those who do retire early, and we'll go over what you gain versus give up if you do decide to delay your retirement. The assumption that waiting is safer. Listen, a lot of people assume that working longer will bring more security, but here's what the actual data says. According to the Employee Benefit Research Institute, over 47% of retirees leave the workforce earlier than planned, but usually due to health issues, layoffs, and caregiving needs. So while working longer may make you feel like you're in more control, many times that control is just an illusion. But let's talk about the real cost of waiting. Delaying retirement isn't just about numbers, it's about what you lose along the way. Think of your retirement in three different phases. You have your go go years, your slow go years, and your no go years. During your go go years, you're a bit more active, healthy, mobile. If you ask a pre retiree what their plans are during retirement, they usually talk about spending more time with grandchildren or traveling. Those are very active things. That's why these are your go go years. But eventually, you revert back to this idea of these slow go years during your mid 70s to 80s, where there's a slower pace, fewer adventures perhaps. And then, unfortunately, due to health, we have a decline that is during our 80s called our no go years. Healthcare kicks in and there's reduced independence. So if you think about it, the most critical time is really our go-go years. Why wouldn't we want to optimize and unlock more of those years rather than thinking about optimizing Social Security? A Stanford study found the feeling of having control over your time is more correlated with life satisfaction than income behind certain threshold. What that means is money doesn't really mean much without time. Time is really the thing that is the most valuable asset inside of your portfolio. Let's talk about what you gain versus give up when delaying retirement. If you work longer, you do gain more years of savings, delaying your withdrawals, which hopefully leads to more assets in your portfolio as time goes on. Higher Social Security payouts. On average, we do see 8% a year as the annual increase if you do retire at your full retirement age. And perhaps employee benefits, which can be critical when we're talking about healthcare if offered. These are real and serious things to consider when talking about retiring early. But here's what you may lose: freedom during the most important years of your retirement, time with aging parents and grandchildren, travel and hobbies that your body may not be able to do later in life, and the opportunity to really mentally shift and find a new identity of who are you in this phase versus who you were during this working phase of life. Let's talk about a real life client example with Lisa and Mark. Lisa and Mark are 60 and 61 years old. They have a combined savings of $1.2 million, but some between taxable and some non-taxable. There's no debt and they have good health. Mark wants to work a few more years. In his opinion, he's optimizing Social Security, but Lisa, on the other hand, is ready to go now. So what we did here at Clarity Advisors is we ran two different plans. One plan looked at optimizing Social Security, delaying retirement a little bit longer, and the other plan looked at retiring now and perhaps delaying Social Security. The takeaway of this is both plans worked financially. So if both plans worked financially, but we can get some time back with the ones that we love during the most critical years of our retirement, isn't that worth it? They realized that they were optimizing their portfolio instead of optimizing their life. They retired that year with a strategy and never looked back. Now, we do meet on a recurring basis to ensure that our income guidelines are in place during good times and bad times. But let me ask you this: is it worth giving up 5 years of retirement to gain 5 years of income? If you want to retire early, here are some things that you really need to consider. Healthcare. What healthcare options do you have when you retire early before Medicare kicks in? Income strategies. When looking at IRAs, Roth IRAs, or your brokerage account, which account should you draw from first? Guardrails or buckets? Income withdrawal strategies do vary. And having guardrails in place that allow you to be flexible during market volatility will allow you to make sure that you're hitting your goals. Perhaps a Roth conversion. During these early years, your income may be lower than anticipated. You're able to then move over some money from your Roth and increase your lifetime legacy and reduce your lifetime tax burden. Those are some things that should be considered. And of course, optimizing Social Security. Optimizing Social Security doesn't mean just delaying retirement and taking the highest payout. Instead, we should be basing it on our lifestyle needs, not just math. The earlier you retire, the more intentional your planning needs to be. Here's the truth: there's no such thing as a perfect retirement plan or retirement number, but there is a perfect retirement mindset. And it starts with aligning your life and your money. If you decide to wait, make sure that it's worth it for your life, not just your spreadsheet. To help you get the clarity that you're looking for, I did create a free retirement checklist. This checklist will cover the things that we've talked about in this video and challenge you with some other topics that you may want to consider when it comes to retiring. And if you want help walking through the checklist, you can always schedule a time where we get to know your situation a bit more intimately, and we can go through your numbers, of course, but then your vision and your mission that you do have for retirement. And remember, don't retire too early out of burnout. Don't retire too late out of fear. Let's find a sweet spot in between that feels just right. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.